Hey everybody, Kneecap here. This is my Ret Paladin DPS guide for Nighthold or 7.1.5, whichever way you want to look at it. First of all, I'm going to kind of go through a fast version, a general version, and then afterwards I'll go into a more specific version and kind of for more of the hardcore people or someone who's just maybe looking to take a next step in their while playing. So, like I said, first I'll start with the quick version. So, quick version of talents. For most cases, you're going to want to use Final Verdict. Final Verdict's the best talent in most cases because of its increase of your #1 move and its increase of your #1 AoE move in Divine Storm. So if there's 2 or more enemies you're using Divine Storm, this is going to help that out as well. The next rank, um, without simming, it's hard to say for sure, but you're going to be between Zeal and Fires of Justice. So generally, unless you're very, very well geared or you have a high amount of haste, the Fires of Justice is going to be better for you. So that's going to be your generally the talent you take there. In the next tier, you have Blinding Light, Fist of Justice, and Repentance. This is more preference than anything. Blinding Light does do damage, so for a very heavy AoE fight, I mean, it is going to do some damage for you, or Mythic Plus. But for Nighthold, I mean, just in general, most people just use Fist of Justice. If you're CCing things, obviously Repentance, and if you just want to do any little damage, you can do Blinding Light. And those are your options there. In the next tier, I like the Virtue's Blade talent, but it's just too unpredictable right now. I have quite a bit of crit, so I have done things on my own to where Virtue's Blade helped out better in real situations. However, Blade of Wrath is generally going to be better, and that's for single target. Now, if you're doing a heavy AoE fight, so if you're doing, Scorpion, Botanist, if you're on ads on Tichondrius the whole time, Divine Hammer could be Divine Hammer is going to be the better option there. And basically, in any fight where there's just multiple targets, Divine Hammer is going to end up being the better one. Multiple targets for more than a few seconds. In the next tier, again, in my opinion, this is more of a preference based. Eye for an Eye does do damage back though if you get hit in melee combat. However, there's a lot of bosses where you'll never get hit in melee combat, so the damage might not ever happen anyways. But it also does a physical damage reduction, so that can be nice for physical damage taken. For example, on Croesus' Slam, I kind of rotate between my Shield of Vengeance and Eye for an Eye, so that's a good talent to use for that. Justicar's Vengeance, though, this is the one to go to for world questing, for anything you're doing solo, PvP, because it heals yourself. The next tier, you might be wanting to use Cavalier just because of lack of mobility for Paladins. I prefer Divine Intervention because of the automatic bubble. You can use that to your advantage in many ways. First of all, you don't get one shot by a one-shot mechanic, and you don't have to worry about hitting your bubble. So one shot mechanic goes off, boss has 1% health left. You can technically finish the boss by yourself. So Divine Intervention, that's just one of many scenarios where I believe that's the better talent. And lastly, Crusade. Crusade is by far your best talent whatsoever. I wish I had the Legendary Cloak because I would like to try out Divine Purpose with high haste and the Legendary Cloak. But as of right now, as far as everyone knows, Crusade is by far the best possible talent in this tier, so you're going to want to go with Crusade. Although, like, if I ever do get the Legendary Cloak, I will try to test that out. And as far as Legendaries go, we'll just move right on to Legendaries. Your belt is going to be the best possible one, Chain of Thrain. They didn't nerf it, but it's still slightly the best. I mean, it's just comparable now to the others. But you're going to want to go with belt, shoulders, cloak, and ring. Those are the 4 best. However, the trinket, which I do have, is the 5th best. So that's my personal 2nd best legendary. This is also going to be very good for AoE fights, Mythic Plus dungeons. So even if I got the cloak, let's say, I would still probably use Killjane's Burning Wish for Scorpion because it's a a lot of AoE. It's going to push my numbers up higher. So that's what I would use for that. So just to recap, this trinket is your best trinket, but if you have 2 of the other trinkets, especially for single target, you're going to want to go with them. And again, that's belt, shoulders, cloak, and ring. Not the ring for everybody, like the PvP style ring, but the Ret Paladin specific ring. As far as stat priority goes in this quick version, basically, I will say it like this. Haste to 20%. Anything over 20% is fine. but it's not helping you out a ton without the legendary cloak. Crit up to 28-30%. After that point, it starts losing its value a little bit. Mastery is pretty much worthless. No matter where your gear gets to, mastery still remains worthless. And once you hit those landmarks, let's say 20% haste, 28 to 30% crit, you're going to start putting versatility on. So if you have those stats with just your gear alone, you can enchant and gem your gear at versatility. That'll give you the most possible damage after those points. There's no set stat priority, it's all depending on your gear. Although, like I said, you're going to want to get your haste close to 20%, and you will notice that all the top rep paladins have haste right around 20%, or they could have it higher with a cloak or whatever as well. But you're going to want to have it at least at that point. As far as the quick version goes, I guess I can go into rotation really quickly for you. Rotation is simple. It's all about crusade damage, so you want to have 3 holy power ready to spend right away if you have your ashes up. So your ashes is your artifact ability, Wake of Ashes. So basically get your holy power, judge, crusade with your trinket buffs as well, and potion, whatever, potion of old war. So you're gonna want to crusade, do all that. Then you're gonna you already have your judgment on. Then you're going to Templar's Verdict, and then you're going to Wake of Ashes, Templar's Verdict, Hammer / Blade of Wrath, and then Templar's Verdict again, and you're gonna get your Templar's Verdict through as quick as you can to get to that 15 stack, and then you're just gonna pop them out as many as you possibly can. The rotation is quite simple after Crusade as well, because you're basically just doing the same thing. You're just stacking holy power. Don't leave 2 Crusader stacks up. So if you have 2 Crusader stacks, you want to use that unless you're maxed on holy power. But if that's the case, you probably did something wrong, especially if it's not during Crusade. You're only going to judge if you are at 5 holy power and judgment's not on the target, or if you're ready to judge and judgment's just about to go off and you just need to get it back on to use your holy power again. So you never want to judge while there's still a decent amount of time left, or if you don't have any holy power to spend, it's a waste. So you're not just judging to judge, you're judging when you have holy power to spend. That's just the quick version of it. Like I said, if you want to keep watching, you can watch me explain a little bit more detail, basically the same thing though, just in a little bit more detail. Okay, so this is going to be the slightly more extended version with a little bit more explanation behind things. I know some people really like things explained to them. So I'll kind of go more slowly and through each thing individually. So as far as talents go, you have Final Verdict, Execution Sentence, and Consecration. As far as Nighthold goes, Consecration is probably not going to be used. If it was a general aura or something that blasted out of you, you could use it on things like Scorpion, for example, but I wouldn't use it at all, personally. Unless if your guild's really good about the Scorpions are always right here and they never move, then maybe. Execution Sentence, as your gear gets better, a lot of people have said that they sim Execution Sentence at a higher mark than Final Verdict, and if that's the case, and that'll be for single target obviously, then you want to go with Execution Sentence. As far as simming goes, I'm not going to explain that fully right now. I might do a video guide on simming if people express interest on that. There are other guides out there, but I could do one as well and maybe try to explain it a little bit better. Final Verdict is the general go-to talent here because it's good single target and it's good for multiple targets because it's Divine Storm and your Templar's Verdict. So that's generally going to be your go-to talent. Like I said, if you sim your Execution Sentence and it's a fight like Crosis and Execution Sentence is better for you, then that's what you'll use. For me personally, Final Verdict is still actually better. The next talent tree, again, is kind of the same thing. Greater Judgment, you'd probably really only use that in like a Mythic Plus, especially maybe a higher level 1, because you would have your Judgment on more things and your Divine Storm would hit harder, so that could be helpful there. Other than that, you'd have to sim between Zeal and Fist of Justice. Obviously, if on a fight like, let's say, Botanist, where there's like 3 bosses up technically at the same time, Zeal would probably sim better. I haven't got to test that out on Heroic at least yet. So, but I assume that Zeal would probably be better because it's multiple targets. But on single target, Fires of Justice is typically going to be the best in this tier. In the next tier, Fists of Justice, um, it's technically the best, it's the most used, I should say, talent in this tier. You can use Blinding Light for a little bit of extra AoE damage, although that could upset your rotation. It doesn't do anything with your holy power. And then Repentance is just for CCing things, which hardly anybody does. But it is, in my opinion, useful when you're soloing hard content, so you could use it for that. As far as this next tier goes, we have Virtue's Blade. Pretty much nobody uses this. It's RNG. So if you have, I've seen somebody with similar item level as me. They have lower crit than me, but they crit on 60% of their moves. So yes, if you get really lucky, this could actually sim high, not sim higher, but give you a better result. But the natural sims will go with the Blade of Wrath and Divine Hammer on most cases. If you had a ton of crit though, maybe Virtue's Blade would, sim higher. I actually think it probably would, but I don't know how much crit that is. I know it's definitely over 30. Is it over 40? Is it over 50? I don't know. I don't know any paladin that has that much crit. So you have Blade of Wrath and Divine Hammer. So it's just simply put, Blade of Wrath, single target, Divine Hammer, multi-target. Divine Hammer is great on Scorpion, it's going to be great on Botanist, a couple other bosses in Nighthold, and obviously Mythic Pluses for the trash, it's great as well. The next tier you have Justicar's Vengeance, Word of Glory, and Eye for an Eye. Word of Glory is just if you want to be kind of kind of like a helper healer kind of person. You want to throw some spot heals, hey, and I mean there's times when you can. If you're hiding behind a pillar on Tichondrius, you can throw some heals out then. So that's not completely worthless. Eye for an Eye, that's what I'm using right now. It's going to reduce physical damage taken, and if you do get struck in melee combat, it does do damage. So that can be helpful as well. So I actually use this one. We were actually on Croesus last, so I was using it to reduce the physical damage taken by slam and kind of rotating that with my Shield of Vengeance, so when it wasn't up, I would use Eye for an Eye. Justicar's Vengeance, I actually like this talent a lot, but for one thing, if you are just like kind of new and you don't have let's say you don't have any add-ons, like as you see I have pretty much the normal interface on, and you don't have like your holy power bars up or whatever, for me it's kind of nice because when Justicar's Vengeance is up, you know that you have max holy power, so that's one way you can kind of cheat the system by using that. That's something that I used to do really. And it also obviously heals yourself, so it's great in PvP, great for soloing things, but it doesn't do any inherent damage unless, of course, you can stun the thing. If you're fighting anything you can stun, then it's great because it's going to do a ton of damage. In the next tier, Judgment of Light, that's just for healing again, so if you want to have that to help your raid with healing, so let's say you're pretty much not worried about ever dying and you don't need mobility, you can do Judgment of Light to help your raid. It wouldn't hurt you any to use it. Surely, so again, that can be a helpful. You could add your healing with your damage, kind of maybe try to push that agenda there. And then you have Cavalier for mobility, and then you have Divine Intervention. I usually go with Divine Intervention because of the fact that it can avoid a one-shot mechanic. So even if you do something completely wrong, or your raid does something completely wrong, or someone blows you up, you won't die as long as you don't have forbearance or anything else. Oh, the next tier. Holy Wrath pretty much is never used, and probably, unless they fix it or change it, probably never will be used for raiding or major content things. So you're going to pretty much go with Crusade in this talent tree, in this talent tier. So it's going to increase your damage and your haste. Basically, you're just going to get your stacks up all the way and then do as much damage as you possibly can. Divine Purpose, I would think this would be interesting to try, and I'm sure people have with the cloak. With the cloak and enough haste, I mean, it would just be RNG, of course, which nobody wants to chance that, but you could possibly put out some extremely high numbers just with luck and RNG on your side with Divine Purpose, and especially with the Legendary Cloak. So like the quicker version, I will now go into the Ret Paladin Legendaries. And so basically you have 5 really good legendaries for Ret, and I'll start with the 2 that I have first. Those are the 2 I know most about, but I do know the other 3 are really good as well. So Chain of Thorns is going to be your best possible legendary, so that's going to increase the damage done during your crusade, which is your the time when you do all your damage. Now this was really strong, but then they nerfed it, and now it's still the best, but not by very much. So Chain of Thrain is going to be your go-to there. The best trinket for you is Kil'jaeden's Burning Wish. So Kil'jaeden's Burning Wish does a massive AoE. So even if I get one of the other three I'm about to talk about, I would still use this for Scorpion, for example. And it also gives you just a ton of good stats. So I mean, it has crit, haste. You don't want the mastery. If that was verse, then this trinket would just be even better. Then your other trinkets are your other legendaries are this Lillidan's Fury Unleashed. While Avenging Wrath is active, you gain 1 holy power every 4 seconds. This is a very nice trinket because first of all, you only need to have 2 holy power when you pop your wings, because then you'll get 3 automatically, and it's just kind of a way, you're just getting more holy power to spend, and you're just doing more damage. That's why this one's inherently good. Then you have where the Whisper of Nathism. So Templar's Verdict and Divine Storm increase the next Templar's Verdict and Divine Storm within 4 seconds by 15%. The trick is there; it's within 4 seconds, so it's never going to be like a constant thing happening. Which is why I said it'd be interesting to use this with the talent there, Divine Purpose. And then where are the shoulders? Ashes to Dust. Enemies hit by your Wake of Ashes take 15% increased damage from you for 6 seconds. This is extremely powerful during your crusade, and you'd want to use this appropriately during your crusade, because as many Templar's Verdict as you could get off in that 6 seconds, you would be golden. So that's actually a really good legendary as well. So those legendaries you want to choose from. If you have the other ones, of course, as a stat stick, you can still use them. I have the helmet. I don't use it. It's because the effect on it is worthless for me, and the trinket is just better. So that's what the trinket seemed better than the helmet. Now, as far as stat priority, I'm going to stat priority next. So I'll kind of say the same thing as I did in the other one, because I explained it pretty well, even in a quick way. So strength always going to be your top stat, pretty much. I mean, especially once you get to, if you're in Nighthold, you're probably at a certain threshold. So you want to get your haste at about 20% no matter what. You can go more if you want. Some people are swear by haste and they put up great numbers, and some people say I don't really care about haste and they put up great numbers. It's not about just your haste. I will just tell you generally to, obviously, besides simming your character, which I'm not going to get too much into, you're going to you want your haste to be about 20% or higher. That's what I'll say for haste. After 20%, haste starts to lose a little bit of its, top stat priority. It's going to get surpassed by things like crit or versatility. Once your crit is up near 30%, however, crit's going to start losing its potency, I guess you could say. So haste 20, crit 30. You see my crit's at 32. Crit's not that strong for me anymore because of that. And then my versatility is at 8%, and versatility is actually my top stat right now, so that's what I'm trying to focus my gear into. So if I can get rid of a crit mastery piece, for example, for a versatility piece, I mean, that's even if it's versatility, like high versatility, low mastery, that's still going to be better for me right now. And then after my things drop, maybe something else will be better. So basically, mastery sucks, haste 20, crit 30, versatility after that. And the crit doesn't have to be 30. The crit can be 25, 26, because and the versatility could be higher. That doesn't necessarily matter, but it's going to ebb and flow as your gear changes. And the only truly way to split hairs between a percent here and a percent there is by simming your character. So I did legendaries. I guess I can go to like kind of best in slot type stuff. Best in slot armor is just kind of silly. Obviously, you want your set bonuses from the Nighthold raid. They're very good. The set bonuses, your holy power spending attacks deal 10% more damage. Obviously, Templar's Verdict is your biggest damage, so you're going to want that. And then the 4 set, your holy power generating abilities have 20% chance to generate 1 additional holy power, so that actually syncs with the ring very well, and you're going to be just going through holy power like crazy. So that's a great thing to have as well. So that actually makes the ring even more valuable, in my personal opinion, because that's more holy power during your Avenging Wrath, and you're just going to be nuking things. The best in slot trinkets. So faulty countermeasure. This drops from Vault of Wardens. If you don't have this, I highly suggest you go get it. Basically, you want a use trinket that goes with your Avenging Wrath, and then you want another kind of trinket, like a proc trinket, if possible. Kil'jaeden's Burning Wish is actually nice because you can actually use both of these, and they don't like upset each other's cooldowns, internal cooldowns, or anything. So Kil'jaeden's Wish is fine, even though it's a use trinket, but a very good combination to have. And when you look up a lot of top rep paladins, the faulty countermeasure, then they'll have Eye of Command from Kara. So I actually need to still get Eye of Command because if I get one of the other legendaries, I need to have something to replace my Kil'jaeden's Burning Wish with. So you need, so you want Faulty Countermeasure or something else you can use. I know there's one in Halls of Valor. I would just suggest farming this. Mine's only 845. I wish it was higher. I've been trying to get a higher one. Just keep running Mythic Pluses on this. You'll get really good at it. You're very valuable to your group. Your Wake of Ashes ability stuns a ton of things in there. You're very valuable to a group. Just spec, proper AoE spec, and just keep running Vault of Wardens. Take control of the groups. I mean, it worked for me. I mean, I just kept running it, and I became just like this valuable person to run Vault of Wardens with. And then other than that, obviously you can't just farm Kara all the time because there's no plus on it, so you can do it once a week. Try to get Eye of Command if you can. If you get Kil'jaeden's Burning Wish, great. I would suggest, though, not stopping at that point and just keep trying to get it. There's other good trinkets as well in Nighthold, and I'll actually pull it up. Something controversial happened in Nighthold. There's the loot at here. Convergence of Fates. There we go. Your attacks have a chance to reduce the remaining cooldown of Avenging Wrath by 5 seconds. This was obviously the best trinket. They nerfed the crap out of it, but if they ever change that back, that would, if they ever made that better, then that would automatically become the best trinket again. So that's a good trinket to have. There's also some other decent trinkets in Nighthold as well. And again, you would just have to sim your character. If you have multiple of the good trinkets that I've talked about, you would just have to sim your character to see which one and which combination is the best. You can look directly. There are lists online of the top trinkets listed and what their damage do, what their damage is, and you can kind of base it on that, or you can just kind of do the combinations however you like. As far as rotation goes, rotation is simple. It's going to be basically the same thing I said in the quicker version of this video that I did first. And basically you're going to get your Holy Power. This can change slightly based upon your legendaries and trinkets and everything like that. But the general rotation is to get Holy Power, Judgment, Crusade, and spend your Holy Power as fast as you can. So your Judgment, Wake of Ashes, or not Judgment, Templar's Verdict, Wake of Ashes, Templar's Verdict, Holy Power move, Templar's Verdict, and just get that built up as fast as you can, get to 15 stacks, and then just pump out as many Templar's Verdict as you possibly can. That's generally your rotation during Crusade. When not during Crusade, basically just don't use Judgment unless you have to. I should have mentioned that during Crusade as well. You only want Judgment. You need to cast Judgment before you need to make sure Judgment's on your target before you Templar's Verdict or Divine Storm or whatever else. Before you do one of your damaging Holy Power abilities, you make sure Judgment's on it so you get the max damage out of it. That's what Judgment's for. So if you only have 2 Holy Power, there's no point of judging the thing right then. Even if your Blade of Wrath, Divine Hammer, Crusader Strike, Zeal is on cooldown, there's really no point of judging there. Just because you're wasting time on your Judgment, and you could get a proc or something else happening to where that time could have been better spent using Templar's Verdict on the target instead of wasting that global cooldown on Judgment. So you're going to want to go only use Judgment when you have to. Use Judgment before you Templar's Verdict. That's the best way to put it as far as rotation goes. Just make sure it's on there, but don't overuse it. I'm even guilty of it. I use Judgment a little bit too much. I'm a little bit too trigger happy when I don't have anything else to use. At Judgment, even if I only have like 1 Holy Power on it, I don't do it often, but I do it enough to where, and I know when I'm doing it too. It's kind of hard when you don't have anything else to use, but it's just a waste of time because that time starts ticking down on it, and it could be one less Templar's Verdict that you get off again before having to judge again. And Judgment's not a high enough damage move to make it worth it. I guess I can kind of go through the bosses just a little bit. Scorpion, obviously an AoE fight. Chromatic Anomaly is going to be a single target fight. There's a slight AoE phase during it, and you can AoE during that, but it is mostly going to be single target. Trillax, huge single target fight. Spellblade, big AoE fight, so you're going to spec AoE. Tichondrius is interesting because there's a lot of ads. If you're in a good enough guild, the melee might not have to go to the ads, so you might want to spec single target. However, if you find yourself on the ads all the time, then you might want to spec AoE. Croesus, obviously single target, biggest single target fight. High Botanist is actually more of an AoE fight, not in a sense of lots of things, but in the sense of that there's 3 different bosses by the end of the fight, so you're constantly hitting 3 things. Grand Magister Elisand, this is mostly a single target fight as well. There's a little bit of AoE, a little bit of cleave, I should say, and that's what I should have used for Botanist as well. But Grand Magister, mostly single target, and Gul'dan is also mostly single target. Of course, the eyes come out, which is good. They're good to AoE, but they're not out. Well, hopefully they're not out long enough to make having like too much AoE worth it. So that's just, again, like Tichondrius, they can kind of go both ways. That's just a very general version. Just wanted to kind of throw that in there since I did want to make this a little bit more about Nighthold than anything else. Other than that, obviously, sim your character. If you're still confused, or I didn't answer a question, or you can't get an answer to a question about a certain stat, you need to sim your character. And I probably will end up doing a video on simming. It's because it's very easy to do, and once I got into it, there's no reason not to do it, really. So please thumbs up, sub, comment below. Helps me out a ton. I appreciate it, and everyone have a good day.